Ready?
Yes.
Hello everyone, my name is Serena and today I'm here with Farzad.
Right.
So I am on a mission to prove that men are actually very committed and emotionally mature and they actually want to be in relationships. And today we are going to be talking about the differences between men and women and how these discrepancies actually cause us to not understand each other and create that disconnection that we're seeing so much nowadays in dating. So, first of all, do you want to say something about yourself? Do you want to share anything about you?
Yeah, well, first I want to say thank you for inviting me. We've always had such wonderful conversations together, and it's just nice to be able to have the opportunity to connect some more about subject that I know we both really enjoy talking about. So thank you for that. In terms of me in general, I don't know, I have a passion for the human condition. I have a passion for psychology, as well as relationships and personal development in general. And I think relationships are kind of the ultimate test of what we've accomplished individually, and then we bring that together, and then that test shows up, right, about how we can relate with others, which very often is just a reflection of how we relate with ourselves. So I love these types of topics and conversations, and thank you again for bringing me on.
Yeah. So one of the things that pops up as a first is like exactly the thing that you just said. You are very interested in psychology and personal development. You have been to Vipassana, which for those who don't know is a 10-day silent meditation course. And so like one of the first things that I hear a lot of women saying is like, men are not doing the work, you know, like that women are evolving and stepping up and like really embodying their next level, and they don't find men that can actually meet them where they are. And so my mission here is precisely to prove that these men exist. They are very real. And we have one over here. So tell me a little bit about like your process. Maybe how did you get into personal development?
Yeah.
How long you've been working on yourself, and share a little bit of that.
Well, yeah, thank you. The way I got into all of this is it's a combination of success and failure. So I was successfully going through my life and accomplishing all the things that I was told to accomplish, get the job, get the house, get this, get the relationship. But so there were those cultural kind of successes, but internally I felt like something was wrong, like something wasn't working. Like, why am I not happy? Why am I not achieving those results? And then that resulted in kind of the collapse of, yet another relationship. And I really had to take a look at okay, well, I'm doing everything right. So it's either the world or it's me, And I think in that moment, for whatever reason, I realized there has to be something wrong with me, And so that was the moment that I turned inside, because I'm doing all the things. So if they're right, I got to be wrong. So for whatever reason, I turned inward and I began to kind of put the clues together of the things that, the complaints or the failures in my relationship. And I just started to pull those threads. And a lot of that was like being emotionally unavailable or being emotionally or not connecting the way my partner wanted to connect. So I just began to follow that. That led me to like just devouring everything I could on like, I started really basic, like what are emotions? What are the emotions? How many are there? And then what do they feel like? So that was all very much like several years of just intellectual knowledge building.
So can I ask you a question
go
at
ahead.
that point? Like when you say learning what emotions are and how to feel them, I feel like women have a more natural way to connecting to emotions, just because of our biology and how we're built. So I think that most women do not get, or they really cannot comprehend the fact that somebody might not be connected to emotions.
Yeah.
What that feels like. How did you, like, what was your process in, like, you started intellectually and then you brought it down into the body? Like, what was your process with that?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there, but like,
sure.
So I first I did kind of the mental, like just the research, and then really after several years of studying, I felt like I needed to put that to practice, and that's when I went to the Vipassana. And I was like, all right, there's a Zen saying or Buddhist saying, a donkey carrying books is still a donkey. So I was still the donkey carrying the books, but I needed to evolve, and I felt like to do that, I really needed to commit to myself, and the way to do that is to like be with yourself. And that's something we don't very often do. How can I spent all these years on the planet, but I never spent even 10 days just with me. So that was a big wake up for me. And it was good that I had done all that kind of research, because I think it really laid the groundwork for then the embodiment work of like, what is this radio, and feeling these things. So that's kind of the first half of how I went through my process. You make the point about women's emotions and men's emotions. In my experience, we are all the same in terms of those emotions. It's just that culturally, men are suppressed. I was never encouraged by my parents for cultural reasons, generational reasons. There were no feelings. There were just kind of like reactions or actions. And then of course, as a man, if you have feelings, well, that's not really allowed or encouraged, because men can be very violent, like our emotions can be really big. So I think that there's just almost a genetic aspect where you're like, calm down, don't do that, or whatever. I think that's more cultural and social. Whereas for women, and I can't speak fully for the women's experience, just my outside observation is that there's a lot more relating and talking, like as you're a child, as you're raised, it's almost the thing where like girls get pink outfits and boys get blue. Like there's no sense to it. It's just what happens culturally and socially. So I feel like women have an advantage in terms of just knowing their emotions and talking and cultivating that to a certain degree. And so you've got this discrepancy right out the gate, where women are more advanced or more educated and more scholarly on emotions than men are. So you're already starting there.
Yeah.
And now that we're in the age of information and psychology and all this stuff, well, women are nurturing that even more. So that's further accelerating the gap between where men are and where women are. So now you have this delta, and that creates frustration, that creates suffering for men and for women.
For sure.
I think it's less now. I think men and boys and women, I think that's equalizing a little bit. I mean, I don't know, I'm not raising children, but I would hope that I see fathers that are more engaged and more nurturing, whereas that wasn't even a thing. Like dads were just providers. So there's my role model. There's my dad, and I don't have somebody that's really emotionally engaged.
Yeah.
But hopefully kids, and so I think generationally in the next, let's say 20 years, that's gonna even out a little bit. But the thing is, women are still accelerating faster. So I think that question of where are the men, it's a valid question. There is a truth there. So for me, it's not as much about where you are and where I am. It's about, do we have a commitment to growth, to learning to learn? And like, if you have that, I've been in relationships where like, I'm very interested in these things that I'm growing, and this person is kind of in survival. Yeah. So that's understandable. Like, you don't have the time and the attention to put into that the way that I do. So And the opposite is true, right? Women could be doing that work. I see women at festivals, at transformational things. They're healing, they're learning, and then I'm like, where are the men?
Sure.
So we're in different places, and if you can find somebody that's interested in that growth process, I think that's the first step. The second thing is, the second frustration that I see when I'm talking to women is that, well, they're not moving fast enough. You know, like, do I have the time and the patience for this? And that's, you know, what I've learned is everyone's kind of working at their own pace. And that's not something you can, you know,
accelerate.
you cannot, yeah, because when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, you know, and like it takes time to process all the things that are unraveling when we wake up to ourselves. And that's a layered onion that unfolds. So I don't have, I will also say that I think kind of the nature of relationship is a certain amount of frustration as well. And then that's part of our growth, is to also be patient, you know, and loving and kind and compassionate. And the thing is that I see, especially in our culture now, is that we're very results oriented. You know, we're consumers. We live in a consumer economy and a time in our civilization where we want to feel good right away, and we want those results, and we go to Amazon and we've got it in 2 days,
and so it's like cut,
correct, and we impose that on our relationships. Well, that's going to work against it's fair to have those feelings, like that's understandable, but if you want to be happy, it's kind of like an inside job, and then you got to develop patience and compassion, and that's almost the opposite of what our society is saying. You should be happy now.
True.
You know? So.
Well, I want to pick up on something that you shared, because I think, like, yes, there is always going to be possibly like one person that has a higher awareness in some topic, you know, like it can be even finances or business or personal development or just like being connected, more connected to emotions, right? So I think that in society or in these times, we are having this thing where we're almost against supporting each other into that growth. It's like, oh, if I'm more advanced in maybe communication and you're more advanced in something else, like, can we support each other and continue growing? So like the first thing is that I am sensing like a lot of women are going through is like, oh, I have a lot more of this healing process done, and maybe I'm a lot, like I'm better in some ways at communicating and whatever else, and like they're kind of in the space where I don't want to be the teacher for the person that I'm with, which is, I get it, and no, we don't want to be the teachers, but we can be the initiatress, you know, like you can initiate, you can kind of like give that little push, because in the end, like, what are relationship for if not being a mirror to each other, if not being the catalyst for each other to grow? And the only way that we can do that is like, okay, if I'm feeling like a teacher, maybe I'm occupying the role of the mom and the mother, and I'm mothering him instead of like using my feminine leadership to say, hey, let's go over there, you know, and then leave him to take the steps toward that part, right? So what is your experience with this piece in terms of your relationship today or past relationships? What can you say about that?
That's such a really good point. I would say that it's such a delicate balance between being a parent and being a partner. And really where I am now, I mean, there's no such thing as equal. That's just a intellectual, ideological myth. Everyone is a little bit this way and a little bit that way in various areas. The problem for women that I see is that they don't want to be mothers to a man-child, right? But I give you the other side of it. The man side of it is, I don't want to be a parent to a child. Like I don't want to be just the provider and then you be the infant. In this aspect, maybe the economic aspect of it. You have social and nurturing advances, but maybe the man is like, well, I don't want a dependent. So what we're looking for really is, you nailed it, is more of like a partnership. So how do we get out of the mentality that I'm superior in this way and I'm raising, you know, a man child, and the other one where it's like, I'm your dad and you're just the teenager living in my house. I think that comes, so I think those are valid experiences, but they're only valid in the sense that they lack a spirit of generosity. And I see that missing in a lot of relationships because, again, we are results oriented. We want the fruits. We're not into the process so much. So to me, one of the key elements of being in any kind of, even if it's a friendship, it's generosity. And I think most of us think of ourselves as generous people, but is it really a skill that we cultivate? You know, do we really look at what it means to be generous and how we navigate that in our relationships? I think if you look at 9 out of 10 friendships that kind of collapse, you'll see that one of the big elements is that we think that they're selfish, right? Like they're taking more than they're giving. And so, okay, are we really being generous in that sense? Because generosity implies, I mean, there should be a balance, but if you're scorekeeping, you've just ruined that relationship. You know, whether it's a friendship or your intimate relationship, which should really just be a reflection of a strong friendship at the end of the day. So
I actually did like this metaphor with my lover recently, where I'm like, you have a jar and I have a jar, and right now what we're doing is like, I am putting into your jar and you're putting into my jar, and what I actually want is that we create a common jar and we're both putting into the same jar, because like these, I'm doing this for you and you're doing this for me, works like until it has a limit, you know, like it has an expiry date. And if we really want to build intimacy and if we really want to build something real, then there needs to be like a common goal. So you know that this relationship is like, it's like a baby in the end, you know, like you are creating an entity that is me and you coming together, and that's the partnership, right? And so if we're putting in, both of us, we're putting into the jar, then we stop counting how much I'm putting and how much you're putting, because it goes all into the same jar. It's not about my jar or your jar. It's like it all goes into the same place, which is like making the relationship grow and making the relationship more real and intimate. And
I can even be more specific about that jar that you're filling, the common jar. Like in my opinion, you can put a word on that, and that's connection at the end of the day. And that connection operates on a lot of different levels, right? There's a physical connection, there's an intellectual, there's a emotional connection, you could call it a spiritual connection or whatever. And all of those things, like when you're investing in that jar, you're investing and you're protecting the thing that connects us, which is the connection. Now, so that's amazing if you're doing that and having those conversations. And that's what I do in my relationship now, and we're both very conscious of that, is in ways that I wasn't conscious before, is like, no, I want to protect this channel that we have with each other. And that comes from kind of sharing a reality, like seeing things the same way, not all the time, but for the most part. And caring about the connection between both of us. So those are the investments that we make. But you make a very good point, like about the other jars, like even when I talk about generosity, it's not to say that I'm an infinite person. I have a limit, you know, but the thing is, again, so this is a thing where you can see like these two jars being maintained at the same time. I could be in a relationship with you and I say, honey, I don't have more to give right now because I'm exhausted emotionally. I'm exhausted because you've got a lot going on in your life and I've hit my wall. But you see how I'm protecting my jar, but also loving you and the connection between us at the same time.
For sure.
Like they can coexist.
True.
And so when
And
you,
it's important that they coexist.
they have to, because I'm a separate entity, you're
Yeah.
a separate entity, and we have to respect that we're not, we're different. We fell from different trees and different lives and all of that.
And I feel that goes into like the 50-50 thing is complete bullshit, right? Because like my energy is not always the same. As the month go along, like especially for women, like every week we have different energies, right? And when we are in the first 2 weeks of our menstrual cycle, for those women that bleed, like we have a lot of energy. We want to give a lot. And then when we enter into the luteal phase after ovulation, it's just like, I just want love, and it's more time for receiving. So it's also understanding like how that flows. And something that I have experienced last month, it was like, oh, I really wanted to receive, and I really wanted love, and I wanted like that cuddle and like just being, and my lover could not give that to me. And in the past, I think I would have gotten into like the childish energy of like, why are you not giving that to me? Like, and I feel like a lot of women do that, especially in that phase of their menstrual cycle where like emotions are so heightened that we get into that childish place of like, just give me what I want. And I'm like, well, if the other person cannot give that to me, can I give that to myself? And that is super important. Like, yeah, honey, I want this, like this is what my desire is. And if the other person says, look, love, I would love to give that to you, but right now my jar is empty, and I need to fill up my jar, and I need to take the responsibility of filling out my jar. And when, like just kind of stop being so egocentric, the universe doesn't go around me. And sometimes in that luteal phase, I think that for women it's extremely challenging to like separate themselves from all the emotional storm that is happening and be like, oh yeah, he's a human being too, like he has his needs, and we're like really much into that give me energy, and that is very repulsive from what I understand from men.
It's a setup for failure, and I see exactly what you're saying time and time again with women that are kind of maybe here, like understand the emotional landscape better. What's happening is that when they need something, they're not asking the question of, is this something I can give myself? And so if you're in that situation where you have a need and you're just outsourcing that need to somebody else, and furthermore using it as a litmus test to say, oh, well, does he love me? Is this working? This is not satisfying my needs. And then, of course, as you say, throwing the tantrum, because those are old habits of getting our needs met. You're setting yourself up for one failed relationship after another. Because in my opinion, nobody sent me here to like save anybody. Like nobody was sent to save me. Nobody saved me. There were people that helped, but I ultimately had to save myself. And the more that I insource my emotional requirements while recognizing my humanity and the fact that I was born from these cultural things, the more I set the stage for our relationship to be successful. Because what's happening is that your generosity cup is empty and you're saying fill it, but if you can fill it yourself, now you've created a platform where you can understand another person's experience. And that comes back to generosity. Like if you don't have to give, how can you expect others to give in those moments? You got to learn to give to that's being generous to yourself too,
And I think you also, I feel like a lot of women have difficulties understanding that the no in the moment doesn't mean never. Like women have, I feel like men have a lot more, are used a lot more to rejection just in general for how they grow up and like the societal construct around like men and like boys. And women have a really difficult time with receiving a no. And they take it as if I get the no once, it's like always a no, or they close themselves up very much. And this is, again, like setting yourself up for failure, because if you ask for, which I agree in the sense like give yourself first, but there are also times where it just feels nice to receive from your partner, you know, like, and I'm like, if I'm in my luteal phase or in my menstrual days, I'm just like, yeah, it would be, it's so nice and so
Everyone
lovely.
Loves that. Men love that too. Men want to be coddled and loved in moments, so that's fair.
And it's like, but you need to give the chance to the person to say no if they don't have it, you know? And a lot of women, I feel, and I was one of them and possibly sometimes still am, like when I ask for something and the answer is no, it's kind of like, I feel it's a no to me instead of no to a request, which is, I think, one of the biggest mistakes that women make is like, if I ask you something and you say no, I receive it personally. I take it personally.
You catastrophize that, right? Like what does this mean in the long run? Like,
you are rejecting me, and so you don't want me.
Correct.
And instead, it's like it's a no to your request. It's a no to what you are asking me right now, and maybe in like a day I can actually give that to you.
Can you? Here's what I would ask you in those moments, like when you're at your bottom, you know, when you need something, can you ask for it while also maintaining the relationship, or maintaining that shared cup that you have? Because very often it becomes an and or an or. It's one or the other. Like if I don't get this, then that's broken. You know, but that's where people make a cognitive mistake. No, I can maybe get the no, but also maintain the relationship. That's hard. That's hard to do that, because like you say, we catastrophize it. But what if I got the no and then sought to understand what's going on? That's where I'm protecting that connection between us.
I think that's
harder. That's a skill that you need to develop, because it doesn't come naturally.
And I think that there is a great point around this, that is the negotiation. So it's harder for women to receive a no, and it's easier to understand that the no is not to you but to your request when there is a negotiation following. For example, I'm like, honey, I would really love for you to come home tonight, to come to my place and cook for me and cuddle me and just take care of me, you know? And you're like, oh fuck, I'm empty, like I have no energy, I just don't want to do it today. And if you just say no, I'm like, you know, like, please say no to me. And again, like, I might take it personally. But if you say, honey, tonight it's really not a good time, I feel like I don't have any energy to give you, but I really want to do that for you. So let's have a brain check and let's do that tomorrow or the following day or whenever you feel that is available. Let me take care of myself tonight and refill a little bit of my cup so tomorrow I can give to you. And I feel that that's so much easier to receive than the straight, no, I can't do that.
Sure. I would take it even a step further. That's a great way of having that kind of negotiation. I would say, like, let's say you got that no from me. Could you move into, instead of a place of like it's either me or him or my needs getting met or not, say, could you rise to the point where you're like, oh, what's going on with you? Look at that no as a way of like understanding that person and saying, okay, being able to put yourself aside just a little bit, not fully, not becoming a martyr, but then also like caring about that connection, saying, okay, yeah, that doesn't feel great, but what's going on with you? And then not that you flip gears and like now you're parenting that person, but at least you have understanding. Now you've taken this moment of separation and you've created some connection. Correct, a little bit. And so that ameliorates kind of softens your thing, while he's feeling kind of seen and heard. And then guess what happens at that? Okay, great. Okay, I'll take care of myself tonight. Maybe we can do something tomorrow.
Yes.
You know? And I think that's what happens a lot. It's like a me or you sort of thing. And so, and those are old childish ways.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the provider, you're the child, you know, mother with teat or dad with $20 or whatever. You know, like, we need to break out of those dynamics and see that you're a complex person. You know, as a woman, you're a complex person.
Oh, yeah.
But we're
yeah, we're both very complex.
We're just relating to it in more simple terms, I think.
And I believe, I believe that what you share has a lot to do with like insecure attachment and secure attachment, because I feel that insecure people, whether you're anxious or avoidant, there is, or both, like me, like
sure.
let's have a blend.
Yeah.
But you know, like, there is that piece of when I receive something, again, like, I take it personally, and I feel like that no again is a no to me, or it's like you are disconnecting from me. And anxious people might react like, oh my god, I lost them, and like they go into panic mode. And avoidants are like, oh, I'm not enough, and like kind of like shut down. Right? But I had a beautiful experience at one point of my life dating two people at the same time. One avoidantly attached, and the other one secure. And it was the most amazing experience of my life, because I could see myself in both of those relationships behaving completely different. And like, one of the things that I've learned the most, and that was a huge catalyst in my growth and becoming more secure, was actually seeing how a secure person relates to these type of situations. And what you shared is a classical kind of like way of dealing with that no of a secure person, because it's like they don't take it personally. It's like, oh, you what's happening with you? You know, like, they meet you with curiosity instead of like, oh my god, there's something wrong with me, and I'm not lovable, or whatever it is that goes on inside of our brain. So it's a very beautiful thing that is a practice to get to a more secure place through curiosity. I always talk so much about curiosity, because I feel like when we are able to step out of our inner world or our inner storm in whatever experience that we're having, and we're actually seeing the situation from the outside, we can see, there is a lot going on with the other person as well. They might have had like as well a very difficult day. Maybe they have, like, men generally have more need to recharge on their own, to go to their caves and like replenish their energy in different ways than women. Women generally need connection, and that's why, for me, one of the other very important things is, especially for women, but I believe that for men it's equally important, to have a circle of friends that can support you through those times where your partner cannot show up. Like, if you really need that connection and you really need that presence for somebody, can you call your girls, can you call your circle, your community, and have a little get together, even if it's just one friend, and get at least part of your needs met from somebody else, which I think is something that for me was very clear in open love or non-monogamous relationships. Is like, you don't have to get, and even if you are in a monogamous relationship, this concept applies. You do not have to get all your needs met from one person. Like, you can get your needs met from different people if you need those things to come from the outside. The ideal is, of course, that we can always give to ourselves, and that we can replenish our energy on our own. And I also know that sometimes it's really difficult, and sometimes we just need that connection from external people. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So I love we talk about like the secure attachment and that sort of thing. I mean, if I look at that a little bit more closely, I think the person that's going to securely attach is gonna be the one that can meet their own needs better. So I just want to make that statement first. It's like, if you're telling me no, let's say I'm a securely attached person, okay, or I'm secure. When you tell me no, it's gonna bite, because nobody likes to be rejected. Yeah. It's gonna bite, but as a securely attached person, it's because when I receive that no, I know that I can meet my needs. Would I like you to do that? Would I like to have the connection that I want? Yes, but if I don't have that, I know that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I think those two things go hand in hand. You need to be securely attached with yourself. I need to know that I'm safe and that I'm okay and that I can meet my own needs. And then I can be that for you, and then you can be that for me. Now, I think this plays a little bit on what we were talking about earlier, that culturally, as we're raised, women are raised in a more collaborative, collective environment. I wasn't, and men are doing that more now. So first thing is, no one can do this journey on their own, the personal development. You need Sangha, you need community, and we don't have the information ourselves, so you need other people. But it is a personal journey. Like it is absolutely a personal journey, and other people can help you. But the more you rely on other people, the more you're opening yourself up for more catastrophic disappointment. We're still social creatures. There's no way to get around that. So I would just say that I think that women tend to kind of look at their network a little bit more, whereas like I didn't have a network, like now there are men's circles, now there are more fathers involved, now there's more conversation, which I think is getting better. But for me, it was books, it was seminars, it was Vipassana, it was that's where I got what I needed. So there are many paths, one tree, but I think the security, the more you're secure, the more you're whole, the more your generosity cup exists, you have more to give, and the more you will protect what's essential to you, and now I can focus on the connection more, because I'm not in like emotional survival mode, like not getting my needs met. It's a very complex puzzle, and everyone does it their own way, but those are my thoughts on kind of that.
Well, maybe to start wrapping this up, I want to pick up the first part of the conversation that we had that you just mentioned again, for me as well, my journey has been first understanding, and that's the journey that I also do with my clients. It's like, understand your physiology, understand your biology, understand how you function and what we are. The basics for me is, if you understand it, it's easier to embody. And I know that there are people that work the opposite way. I'm embodying it and I'm feeling it, and I'm just then I arrive to an understanding. And I think that it's also important to discover which one of the two you are, because for me it's I started reading, I did my first Vipassana when I was 17, and then I started reading about these things, and for years I was just reading things. And I remember my early 20 years old self being I understand this Buddhist concept, but how do you actually do it? How do you actually do it? I understand the concept, but how do you actually feel that way? And it is a process, and for everybody it's going to be different. And again, I think that in relationship we often have the expectation that the other person function exactly the way I function, and that expectation, it creates disconnection, because I'm instead of being curious, I'm assuming that you function the same way that I function, and so if you do this or if you say that, it means that this and this and this, right, because that's what it means in my world, and maybe for you it means a completely different thing. And I feel that between men and women we also have a lot of that, because we have a whole complete dictionary that is different, right, which maybe we can do a part 2 around language.
I was gonna say that's a big part of it. Yeah, we can have that conversation.
Because it's like we might speak the same language in terms of like the sound of the words might be the same, but the meaning that we give to those words can be completely different.
Right.
And that is a whole other big thing.
How we process information, can be very different. Is different from person to person. That's
and
just
culturally.
Culturally, and now I'm in a relationship where, she's a native Spanish speaker, so you have to be even more skillful at those sorts of things. I think what you said early on, there are the two modes. One is the embodiment and one is the understanding. There's no question in my mind that right vision, as they say in Buddhism, the first noble truth, the first part of the noble path, right vision and right understanding is the more efficient and direct way. You need right understanding. What is going on with my body? Because if you're not tuned into reality, the reality of your body, your mind, and the world as it is, you're going to have a difficult time. Then the second one is right speech, which you're talking about. Those two are really foundational. You can do all of the other things, but those two are kind of foundational. You can get there, but it's a longer path, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So just getting the facts straight. You might not understand it, you might not be able to put it all together and figure out the way to live, but just getting the facts from someone you know or trust is essential, and then working your way, in my opinion, through embodiment is again, for me, is clearly the right way to go about it, or the more efficient way to go about it.
And I think I want to know, to close up, this is the last question.
Sure.
What do you think about like getting perspective from other people when there is a challenging situation in a couple? With my ex-partner, we used to talk everything through and like enter these endless conversations where we would spend hours and hours and then still not understanding each other. But then there would be times where I went and speak to my friends about it, and he would go and speak to his friends about it, and then we would come back with like a completely different understanding of the situation. What is your opinion on this, and what is your experience?
We could do a whole other conversation on that. But like
I told you that we could talk for hours.
we can do this for a long time. So I think at the heart of your question is like, who do you trust? Because trust is at the nucleus of that. And of course, now I'm in a relationship with you, and like, you've got your agenda, I've got mine, I've got the way that I process information, you process information. And you can have a conversation with each other and just go on and on forever, and it's like not working because you're not really understanding each other. So then who do you trust? Right? And so now in your example, you went and talked to your friends, he went and talked to his friend. So what are you doing? You're looking for facts, you're looking for knowledge,
and different points of view.
And different points of view. So very often the way we do that now is we'll share our suffering with 5 or 10 people, and then what do? One of two things. If you're really in the understanding game, you'll look for information that might go against what you feel or believe. But most of the time people are just looking for validation for the way they feel. So you might ask 10 people, and then you're really gravitating for the one that validates you. I don't know if that's... So for me, the better way, and what we don't do very often, is we don't ask experts. We're more likely to ask our friends, what have they done with, who are we asking? So you can expect that to be a very inefficient process.
Sure.
But that's what we lean on, instead of, a book by a psychologist or a PhD or somebody who's committed 20, 25 years of their lives to understanding an element of social psychology, like read that book.
Yeah.
That's going to get you there a lot faster than interviewing a whole bunch of trying to figure it out. Get a mentor. And what is a mentor? A mentor is someone that you respect, that has results, that you can look at their lives and say, okay, you've done the work, and and I can see the results, so I'm going to talk to you. It might not be perfect,
Yeah.
but again, it's going to be a more efficient way of going about
sure.
doing those sorts of
For
things.
sure.
That would be my recommendation.
Yes, same here. Unless you have really evolved friends like
Sure, they can be your friend. Or make those experts your friend.
Yes.
Like the experts in my life are like Thich Nhat Hanh, you know, Alan Watts. You know, I didn't have like friends. So to me, those are my friends. You know, John Gottman. And they don't know me, but they saved my life. Jack Kornfield, you know, these guys are, they got me there. So
Totally.
thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
I hope that the conversation was helpful, that you got insights. Share in the comments anything that came up for you. I would love to read you and know what's happening in everybody's lives. And until next time.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.